I'm Margaret Ann Windsor, and I was kidnapped in 41 and brought to Moulton, Alabama, and given the name of Peggy Ann Dempsey. I married Childers, and the real Peggy was twin to Carl Dempsey, born out of wedlock, to Lina, where they took me, and the Lina Dempsey had murdered both of them, Carl about a month after birth, and Peggy about a week to 2 weeks before they dropped me off there. JFK and my own Uncle George helped kidnap me. And this is George in 39, the year I was born, at Hyde Park with Roosevelt and their wives and Roosevelt's mother. This was a big coup that took down my dad with nothing but character assassination and lies. My father, Edward VIII, never married Wallace Simpson. He was married to my mom, the sister to artist Georgia O'Keeffe. And this is me in high school, and that's the family where they took me, the Dempseys. This is Elizabeth, who's a illegal monarch. She's a war criminal. A whole bunch of them are. This is the woman, the American spy that married a double. My father never married Wallace Simpson, had anything to do with her. She married an imposter in 37, the same year this SOB, George the illegal six, helped take down his brother, then planning my kidnapping here. He became the illegal monarch in 37 when Wallace married a double, not my father. And Winston Churchill helped, and Eisenhower, and I put this up last night, helped destroy my father and mother. So when they took out my father, they had to take out my mother because she was Queen of England in 36. So the photos and the lies have been told about my mom. They said she died in 84 in Bel Air, where she had a home, which is a friggin' lie. And this is Larry Flint, who endorsed me. He mentions Larry McDonald, who was a doctor I wrote about, and his plane went down, the KAL, in August the 31st of 83. And the next year, they say my mother died. That's when I started finding out about my birth, when I was flown out to Flint's. Then it all made sense, but this came to me April of 84 when I was lucky enough to have a few bucks and lived in D.C., and he furnished me a car for a year. Now I wanted to, if I can, I'm pretty sick this morning, I wanted to get this up. And whether it makes sense right at the moment, if they don't tell it, the reason they're not telling about the mind control murders, which is what Larry Flynn, I'd never met him, but I was doing a book on medical malpractice, MD license to kill, while I lived at Moonraker Apartments. And Larry McDonald was one of the doctors that I wrote about, and I was almost killed April Fool's Day of 80, and of course the book was even taken out of a safety deposit box, and I've put all that up. So, and then one was kept by the Hearst family. I did not know the Hearst owned the Atlanta Journal. When me and my husband and kids were begging for help at what was being done to us, I thought it was the book I was doing, the medical malpractice book, which was a part of it. I'm going to put this up now to here. But that wasn't it. Well, that was part of it. But we were going down there, and the FBI gave me a letter June the 23rd of 79, ongoing investigation, national security involved. And the woman that was manager there at Laurelwood, we had moved from Moonraker on about May the 8th to Laurelwood up the street on Bentley Drive. She told me, and it didn't make any sense then because I didn't know about my kidnapping. She told me that her uncle was FBI and he was in charge of the Patty Hearst kidnapping. So I really did. I wondered why she told me out of the blue. Now it makes sense because they were all part of it. It was a big, well, it's a Illuminati your Freemasons and your global government, believe me, that's in power now, your media and all is controlled by them. But they were in the book I was telling about doing murders and patterns, and I didn't know anything about mind control. I didn't know that at the time till I researched, and some of this connected to the Center for Disease Control, and I put all this up. But you can cure an illness or you create an illness. The Tesla files that were stolen in 30. Well, imagine if this were made public, what it would do to the medical profession, which is really holds your economy together, a lot of it. And I will say this, at Larry McDonald's Hospital in Atlanta, there were several murders. Gene Srokerman was murdered in Dr. Hardiman's office Christmas Eve, and I was doing that. My attorney gave me the deposition because the cops had come in. This is a former DA, my attorney was, of Fulton County, Atlanta. They come in and took Jean's papers, Srokerman's papers, when she was murdered at Piedmont Hospital, where Larry McDonald was doctor and he was U.S. congressman. He went down the plane supposedly in '83. That's when I was flown out to Flint in the special election. But anyway, I'm getting off, you might think, off the beat here, but I wanted to connect. There was a lot connected to Piedmont Hospital in Atlanta. Gene Srokerman was shot down in Hardiman's office, and somehow my husband, we were separated. So that's all I'm going to say. There was a lot going on. Warren and Rosina Matthews were forensic pathologists that worked there. They were murdered at Terrell Mill by program shooters. And they even said that one of the girls involved in it was under hypnosis. So, like the Manchurian candidate, if you want to call it that, only this gets into something else where they can create an illness or cure it, make it appear of natural cause. Now, this is part of the patterns, and I'm not in any way, where I'm staying, I am sick from first of all, it's got the air conditioning, has fungus and everything else in it. And I've been made to run by using chemicals, and I've quoted State Trooper Carl Barton, who made that statement. His wife did too, and I like him, so I'm not, I almost hate to put it up, but I'm fighting for my life. Right now, I've lost my hearing because of what's going on. If I go or stay, that's what I put up the other day. Do I go or do I stay? And people don't really pay attention to it. Anyway, I wanted to put this up because this morning this was on TV, and it gives me hope that this mess is going to be told. But they have to tell about me and tell the truth if they're going to get to the truth of all of it. It's mind control, like the Vegas shooter, Mr. Paddock, and etc. And the Aurora, Colorado, you can mass program armies, and that's what they're doing. But I want to put this up because Natalie Wood, they are saying now, which has always been true, that she was murdered. Well, she wasn't murdered by Robert Wagner. This is patterns, and I'm not going to try to go any further. If it's told, it's told. And I hope to God and pray it is finally told. You may not understand some of it, but that's the whole point. And part of it. Christopher Walken, okay, let me go back. Natalie Wood was died, I believe, before Thanksgiving of '81. Okay, I've forgotten over the years, and I'm pretty sick right at the moment. Okay, let me put this in here. Christopher is, I'm just going to say a crypt word, and walk, as in walking. Christopher, of course, is like Christ, or Christopher. It was one of the names I had in the book. And Ross was the other for Scott, and Mark was Christopher. And I'm not saying that he's Christ or anything, so don't go running off trying to disprove me on something or call me a nutcase, because I'm not. It's a wonder I'm sane with all I've been through, but I am. Thank you. Okay, Natalie Wood died then, and she was drowned. They found her drowned, and Christopher Walken and Robert Wagner was with her on the yacht, and I believe they've had it tied up all these years. I don't know, the last couple of years out in Honolulu or near there. And I've forgotten the sheriff's name. They had that done. Because it had something. He didn't have anything to do with the murders, but his was very prominent, and I can't find it this morning when I try to Google. But I remember when John and I married in 1959, one of his close friends was John Acey, and he had been an actor, and he'd acted in a couple of movies, and he was very popular. He and Robert Wagner and Tab Hunter was the good-looking guys, movie stars. So he ends up coming to Huntsville, Alabama, and friends with my husband. And I met him, and I won't go any further there. I just wanted to get that name in. Now then, you've got another movie that, let me address Brainstorm. That is, if I'm correct, I didn't go back and look it up. Brainstorm was about when two people can feel each other's emotions, I believe. I'm correct. Mork from Ork, and remember Robin Williams was supposed to have committed suicide, and I've told you ever since then that that was mind control. They can make you appear to have committed suicide or natural cause by death, whatever. Anyway, the whole thing in there, and it's Pam Dahlberg, and she married, it's so, if you ever had a genealogy sheet or something, she married, I'm going to forget it right now, NCIS star. And by the way, since I'm on this here this morning, he lived right down from O.J. Simpson, who was certainly, and I've always said it, a mind control person. He was programmed. But anyway, part of it has to do in the patterns, and Mork from Ork was the movie, and Pam Dahlberg was the girlfriend, and she was married to, I better quit because I'm not feeling good anyway, and I'm not keeping it in order. But anyway, the movie Mork from Ork had to do with emotions. And then you had Starman in 1985, and I can't remember, Lloyd Bridges' son, not Bo. What was the other one? Anyway, he starred in that movie, and I can't remember the girl's name, but it's where he was from another planet, and he could look at a picture or get a little bit of hair, and he could become that person or look like that person. You would think he's the same person. And that was 1985, and that's when Jens Zorings, I saw the movie in 85. I was in Grotto, Virginia, and that's when Jens Zorings was supposed to have murdered the Haysoms in Bedford next door here. And he's been in prison, and the former governor, he was on the ticket with Hillary. I can't think of his name right now, for goodness sake. But anyway, he was supposed to have released him, Jens, and let him go back to Germany, because he and Elizabeth Haysom are innocent. They didn't kill her parents. They're mind control patterns used in it, and it's mind control used. Well, he's still in prison, and I can't think of his name. He ran on the ticket. You can look it up. It came out a little bit in the campaign recently. Why didn't he go ahead and let Jens go home? Well, McDonald became the governor, and he overthrew it and wouldn't let Jens be returned to Germany. He was a diplomat's son, and they're innocent. He's in Buckingham State Prison, or was the last time I heard, here in Virginia. So Buckingham is another clue in the patterns. So anyway, I'm just going to say that Starman, Mork from Ork, and Natalie Wood's Brainstorm were three of the movies that connected all this. I will say Bob Wagner was married to Natalie, of course, and he didn't kill her. Neither did Christopher Walken. It was mind control. And by the way, when all this was, I went to D.C. and left Huntsville, Alabama after they had almost killed me. And I worked for Fred Simpson, the district attorney, and computer science, and Doyle Duke, Golden Triangle. I worked for a young girl named Natalie, and a lot surrounds her name and what happened there. And that was in about early 1982, and I ended up going to D.C. with all my stuff, no money, walking around. I had Xeroxed the letter from the FBI. I had 2 letters, and the book I even Xeroxed, and I was trying to carry the stuff, and it was very hard. And I've put all this up, so I'm not going to go any further with that. But I was telling about all this because Hinckley was shot during that time, and supposed to have shot Reagan, who, by the way, had on a jacket, a bulletproof jacket. So anyway, Hinckley's father was, they had just had dinner with the Bushes the night before it happened. So Hinckley was definitely a program shooter from Evergreen. His parents were, and he were from Evergreen, Colorado. The only thing else I'm going to say here, and if it's all told, it'll make sense. If it's not, you can go on calling me names, and I don't have that much longer to live. I'm 79 years old. I'd love to see my children, if they're alive. They separated us way back then. That's almost 40 years ago, it is. But here is another connection to it. I'm British, of course. Courtney is the daughter of Natalie, and her husband, the father of Courtney, is British. I believe he was, well, he was into film as a producer, I believe. But they were married and had Courtney. Well, I don't know how that Bob Wagner ended up with Courtney. He had custody. I don't know if he still does, but that was kind of another offshoot to it. So that's all I'm going to put up right now. I will say this. I don't know that this plays into this. The sheriff's name a few years ago that was responsible for the yacht being taken and left. In other words, I guess they tied it up and wouldn't let it go till this is over. That Natalie and they were on when she died. Well, she was off in the water. But when I was out at Flint's, he introduced me to Billy Jack. Tom Laughlin was the actor that played in Billy Jack. And this name is very prominent later in all of this, the Billy Jack. And by the way, Tom Laughlin, by all accounts, was a very nice person. And I can't remember who played with Bullock. Should know his name. Hopper. Dennis Hopper, I met him. That's the only 2 I met. But anyway, I want to throw that in because Billy Jack becomes really a lot in what happened later after I was out at Flint's. So I'm sure that nobody's going to pay attention to it. If they don't tell it, the media doesn't tell it. Why? They won't tell it because of me. And what they did to my father in history and all, and my children. I've told you the truth.